afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Basscast Radio. It is Wednesday night. It is time to hit the record button. First of all, I hope you guys all had a wonderful holiday because you guys all know we record on Wednesday nights, upload on Monday mornings at 5 a.m. For you guys who were hoping to wake up Friday morning to an episode of Before the First Cast, my boy took the week off, which I understand. It was a holiday. We just decided to keep the dream alive, and we love talking bass fishing right here on Basscast Radio. And team is back. Bass Geek Thomas from Fishing the DMV. And guys, we've got a special guest with us tonight, Mr. Chad. And how you say your last name, Chad? Because we're gonna dice it. Don't matter how we do it here at the Basscast.
Yeah, it's Mrazek.
Mrazek. Hey, that's pretty. I can do that one, Mrazek.
I could have sounded that out even with my hillbilly.
Yes. And for you guys who did not see this tournament, which is pretty much all of us, Chad won $50,000 down on Hartwell about 2 weeks ago from this crazy battery company that decided to just give away $100,000 to some of the best local and regional anglers, women, men. You guys heard our last episode. Geek was down there doing the MCing, Mr. Brad Staley. And we thought we'd get Chad on. We're going to talk about the event. But before we talk about that, men, guys, the final NPFL schedule came out today. I know you guys have all been busy, and it's actually a pretty good schedule. I'm excited. I'm probably going to go to... They're going to be down in North Carolina, about 3 hours from the house.
Yeah, they're going to be on Douglas Lake, one of my home lakes.
So, it's going to be, yeah. So I mean, it's.
And I am going to apologize because it ain't like it used to be.
Whoa. So I'm planning on going. I am planning on making the trip down to North Carolina to meet the whole entire team. I've never done that before, so even if I hope it's not but 3 hours. So I mean, we just do a day. I mean, it's like 3 hours and a half. That's a day trip. I mean, heck. I mean, so we might make it a whole entire weekend. But I'm excited about the NPFL coming a little bit closer to us here in Central Virginia. Guys, if you didn't see the press release or the post, you head to thebasscast.com and check it out. But let's see here. NPFL.
Aren't they at Santee first?
They got Santee
they're going Santee in South Carolina.
You got Santee Cooper in March. You have Lake Norman in April. Douglas Lake, May 22nd, followed up by Lake Eufaula, the St. Lawrence River, Logan Martin, which sucks, and then Lake Hartwell.
May and on Douglas is going to be interesting.
That's going to be really interesting.
So...
It's going to be an interesting season, a great schedule. I think it's a great schedule because I get to see everybody. So, I mean, you know, it's pretty cool that they're coming a little bit closer to the house.
Yeah, it really is.
And again, they've been doing what we've been talking about and before us, like Ike Live on his first show is like, why won't the FLW and Bass get along? And the NPFL is like, oh, okay, you want a chicken sandwich? What if we just make what the customer wants? We'll wait for everyone else to put out their schedule and we'll just work around it, and we'll just collect all the money and be quiet.
I agree. 100%.
Crazy thought.
And you guys all know who have been listening to Basscast Radio for quite a while. We love the NPFL. We love the team. We love what they do there. You know, we got a championship coming back next year. So, I mean, was it this year or next year they're hosting the championship? I think it's first of next year, isn't it, the championship?
Yeah. It's they do it pretty much the same way everybody does. It's not
like Bassmaster.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I mean, it's 2025. We're excited. I am going to, like Geek said, Douglas Lake right down the road from him, and I'm going down to Norman April the 16th through the 18th for that event. So if anybody wants to jump in the ride, you just have to sleep in the tent. Okay, I'm not getting a hotel room.
I'm not spooning with you, Brian.
That's literally what I was about to say.
All right, now listen, Chad, if you want to say something around this bunch, you just jump right in.
Yeah, jump right on in.
I mean, you be loud, you know, just jump right in there and get her said.
Heck yeah.
And with that said, let me know in the comment section, who is the big spoon? Is it Geek or Carter?
Oh, no.
All right, let's roll on. Geek, what's happening in your world, brother?
Man, the same old thing. We're putting out content. Got to go down. If you guys haven't got to see, go down and check it out. They, on Fix TV, you can go watch the replay. You can go watch the weigh-in. You can go watch Chad hold up a big check, and he wouldn't dance, but he smiled a little. So he's a quiet guy. But no, man, Hartwell, that was fun. It was definitely an experience getting to go down there and do that. Shout out to Brad and Ionic, and congrats to Chad there, man, for pulling in the dub.
Guys, we should get at least $1 every time we mention Ionic batteries, to be honest.
I gotta subscribe to my OnlyFans to see all the dancing and stuff too. So.
I got you. So
what are we dropping this week, by the way, Geek? Anything we need to look forward to on the Bass Geek YouTube channel, sitting at what, almost 90,000 subs? Or
yeah, we're trucking right along. We dropped a 1-2 tough sort of tough day bait combo, little finesse combo for winter, and then we're going to talk about some top some bait choices for December, and just make sure you check us out. Go hit that sub button. We are dropping full length videos every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
Boom. All right, Thomas, let's move on to you real quick, brother. What is happening in your world?
A lot. So, by the time this airs, I will have I've done the Thanksgiving special. So I'm going to go live on Thanksgiving to do a little tournament preview for the Fishing the DMV Bass Mass Bash tournament that goes from Black Friday until December 28th. I'll also talk about the BFL rules and then them going back on the BFL rules again and all that fun stuff because they're cowards. And then we also have a great episode with the people that founded Antietam Bassmasters, one of the oldest clubs in Maryland. And we're going to be talking about some lakes that you never heard of and just the differences they've done. They were one of the first Bassmaster clubs to go to catchway release because the state of Maryland basically said, for the fish, you can't fish a tournament from like April until like June. And they're like, well, F you, we're just going to do catchway release so we can still fish. And so it's a really interesting conversation that we have that airs when this episode drops.
Guys, I ain't gonna lie, I love when Thomas does these like look back in history episodes, because that's really freaking cool. And to get these people on and to learn about some of the clubs and how they came about. I had a gentleman, God, I can't think of his name right now. Me and him did a crap load of videos, and he was from Tennessee originally, and he was one of the original members of the OG Bass Tennessee. Now he's passed away now, but he was one of the OGs from that was part of the original first club the Bassmaster had ever started.
Wow.
So I mean, that was freaking cool as crap. Just to learn a lot from him. And like I said, I know, Thomas, you've done some other stuff back in history as well. I think you did Smith Mountain Lake, or you did some other different lakes.
I did the history of Kerr, which, believe it or not, was founded. The lake was being made when D-Day was happening, to give you an idea of how old that lake is. And then the youngest lake in the East Coast, the biggest lake, is Smith Mountain. It's like 58 years old. It's a baby compared to a lot of these TVA lakes.
So, guys, head on over, hit the subscribe button. Hit subscribe button to all of us. I mean, guys, this Thanksgiving and Christmas season, you could bring a lot of joy to a lot of people's lives. Just hit the subscribe button. It's free. It costs you nothing, but it helps us tremendously. It really does. And we do these shows. We don't charge you anything. It's all completely free. All we ask is you head to our YouTube channels right now and hit subscribe. Merry Christmas. All right. Was that pretty good or not? Was I begging too much? Maybe. All right. Guys, we want to thank everyone who fished with us in 2024 this year, the Basscast Tournament Series on Smith Mountain Lake. You guys have all reached out to me the last couple of days. I mean, it's overwhelming, to be honest, because there's a lot of shakeup in the world of tournament bass fishing right here in Central Virginia. And you guys have asked for a lot of me. I ain't gonna say it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna say it is gonna happen. I will tell you this: there will be some changes for us in 2025, and we're still working on that. Nothing major. We're still gonna be on Smith Mount Lake. We're gonna be out of State Park for one. That's gonna be probably one of the biggest changes. But there's gonna be some other changes as well.
$10,000 guaranteed payout.
Yep. And feet picks.
Maybe 2,000 minus the 1,000. So I mean, let's just get through. I don't want to talk politics, but let's just get through the first Trump administration year. See if we can kind of rebound here. Maybe get $1 or $2, guys.
Yeah.
I don't want to. We're all kind of feeling the pinch and recovering, and let's hope the interest rates drop. And
are we saying the economy could have affected tournament fishing?
Yeah.
We can't talk about
he
that.
said that, and yes, he said it right. It has affected but hey guys, you're gonna say that, and we don't want to get into this too hard, but I have a tournament series here. It's not big, 25 to 50 boats. Thank you everyone that fishes with us. They all support us, which is great. Thank you. But there's a tournament trail right around the corner that I ain't knocking it all. They're great. Tournament director is great. But they get 40 to 50 boats because they have side pots. They have a gold. They have a bronze. They have a silver. And the boys love paying it. I don't know if that's the reason why they all fish it, because they got a chance of taking home $2,000 or $3,000 instead of, I ain't gonna lie, my pot's usually around $600 to $1,000.
It better be some good stuff if your pot's that expensive. That's all I'm just.
But I mean, the people they still love. I don't want to say gambling. Whoa, damn.
Well, that's
We're getting
basically
hard right
fishing.
here. What's that?
That's basically what fishing is. It's just gambling.
It really is.
I mean, but speaking of people that can stimulate economy, I know somebody that just won $50,000.
Hey,
Ooh, what a lead in right there, boys and girls.
Yeah, not too
Dad,
bad.
welcome to the show. We could talk forever. I'm not gonna lie. We just love this sport so freaking much, and thank you for taking the time and come on and talk with us tonight. Chad, we're learning. Dude, I ain't gonna lie, shit. We don't know nothing about your ass, and we want to learn something. So
Yeah, I'm pretty
break it down for us.
Man, yeah, I just fish. This is my third year fishing full time. It's my full time job. So I've been really fortunate to have some really good partners in the past 3 years now. I've fished primarily with Major League Fishing. I haven't really branched out too much into anything else. I just kind of the way I had to get it. Like I was saying earlier, is a little bit different. You can never blame somebody for the situation they're put in. So I never knock anybody's.
yeah.
But the way things worked out for me, I kind of had to, start really, really down low. And I just took whatever opportunities I had and ran with it. And then Major League Fishing just kind of where it's been working out for me the best. I have really good relationships with them. A lot of them work for me, it seems like, whenever, I have like a big win or something like that. So that's pretty much where my head's been. And, I'm definitely open to other things too. It's just where my hustle is.
So where did it start for you? Did it start, did you come out of the college ranks? Did you fish any high school, or did you just jump into clubs, BFLs? How did you get from point A to point B?
I was a big football player in high school. So fishing was I was like, shoot, I probably weigh like $180 now. I was 230 my senior year of high school. So like I was a lot bigger. Football was like the main focus. But I think by the time my junior year of high school hit, I really started taking a step back and fishing a lot more. My parents actually moved out to a lake in East Texas, Lake Conroe. I started doing the high school stuff. I fished a ton before I actually started fishing for the school, but we had like 500, 600, 700 high school team tournaments on Sam Rayburn. And that was like crazy, like competitive aspect. So I ended up winning like the state championship, like a couple years in a row. And then I won the regional championship too, in high school. And then, one thing just things kind of fell into place. But I had to take a step back and decide if I was going to go to college. try to play football. That was pretty much out. By the time my senior year hit, I pretty much already knew I wanted to fish for a living. So whatever I had to do to make that happen is what I was going to do. So for like 2 years, I was in school, online, in a community college near my house. I was a mover 5 days a week, and then I guided on Lake Conroe Saturday, Sunday, and I did that for 2 years straight. And it was like I completely fell off the face of the earth. Like, didn't have any time to talk to friends or anything like that. And then when I was a sophomore in college, a school in South Carolina reached out and pretty much offered to pay my way to help build a program over there. And I was like, man, I'm not going to get this opportunity again. I may as well do it. So I packed everything up, left my guide business at home, which was really hard to do because I built up a pretty good name for myself and my business. And I just went, and it was like the best decision I ever made, dude. I made so many friends. I traveled the country for free. Had a shot at winning a ton of big tournaments at the college level, and went to the Classic. I think I picked like eight teams to go to that college Classic deal. I got to do that, and I was running my yap on the stage in front of like 35,000 people, talking about chicks from the University of Tennessee coming to jump in the boat with me and stuff. But it was a good time. So I did that, and then my senior year of college, when I was finishing up, I was able to have enough sponsor dollars and be able to get enough name for myself to be able to go straight from college to fishing full time. So it was pretty full circle the way it worked out.
There's a lot you said that I would like to unpack. Like first and foremost, going from your home waters to transplanting to where you did, what was the biggest culture shock from the fishing style that you had to see on a daily basis?
Herring fishing for sure.
I was gonna think that.
Yeah, South Carolina and the East Coast, like all herring lakes are, dude,
suck.
People there dominate there. Like they're good there. So I was really lucky to be able to go to school there and learn. I actually lived on a lake in college. I was like jumping from couch to couch, dorm to dorm. Like I pretty much literally just took my drinking boat and like jumped from people's dorm rooms to different, couches. Just like looking for places. I remember I got in trouble, like big trouble. I got kicked out of the dorms because I had my boat plugged in. I had the extension cord running out the window, and I got my truck and boat stuck in the front of the dorm, like y'all. And there was like 6 trucks trying to pull me out, and I was late. I actually had to go to the Potomac River for a Toyota. It was like 4 a.m. People coming in like drunk, and I'm like trying to get the heck out of here, dude. And that went south quick. But yeah, after that, I ended up meeting a real good buddy of mine, and he had his grandparents had a lake house right there by the school, and I crashed there for a little bit, and then it all worked out. So, but yeah, herring fishing for sure. Like that was insane. Culture shock.
Growing up on the Potomac River like I did, when I went to my first championship in college, that was back when FLW had it. It was on Lake Murray. And I was like, Jesus, we're not in Kansas anymore. And it took a while for me to kind of appreciate it. The next championship I made was down at Lake Kiwi, and we fished Hartwell a bunch. But my point I want to get to is, once you started to unlock herring fishing, did you feel like it was a consistent pattern, or do you feel like even though you learned it, it still is inconsistent?
I think being like certain times of the year, there's like you can win on herring lakes that like the fish have nothing to do with herring at all, and that's kind of like how I just won Hartwell. But being consistently like dominant on herring lakes, in my opinion, is learning to look for like inconsistent fish, if that makes sense. Okay. But like looking for, like, you got to find random fish, and the best way to do it is like literally go a million miles an hour. Like that's just like the biggest thing I learned is, I mean, you could have like some hammer holes, have giants, but the reality of it is most of those lakes, just about every point you pull up on, have giant schools of bass on them. Like finding your rotation is probably the biggest thing. Like,
and it's interesting. I've had so many people on my show that have won on Kerr or Gas in the North Carolina lakes, and it's what bred the culture. If you take herring out of that, I think the culture of the Carolina anglers, the run and gun, the moving 1,000 spots, that doesn't develop. So we really, to look at what like a Brian Thrift would do, if you take herring out of those lakes, that style of angler just doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah, no, it makes total sense. It really does. I mean, I, in a way, like I don't think everywhere you go, you kind of have to like hunker down and sit. Like even on Lake Conroe, where I grew up, there was a classic there, and like I think it was 17. Jordan Lee won it.
Mm-hmm.
That's like my home lake. I've been a run and gun guy there like all my life, but like that's just because timing is such a big thing on these other places. Like you start to learn like Tennessee River, East Texas, especially like around the pre-spawn, timing is so big. Like if you don't get these fish to bite like either first thing or when they fire at like lunchtime, you're pretty much wasting your time. Like you can sit there and literally look at them on dare I say live scope, and like they just don't eat. Like it just timing is huge. So that's where the running gun aspect comes in, like the difference is outside of herring lakes.
And like you said though, you come from where like you did that at home, but the running gun is different though on a herring lake. And I think it's unless you're from the Carolinas, it's so hard, or Northern Virginia that has a ton of herring in it now.
Mm-hmm.
It is a completely different ball game with how you fish those places. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely. And it's like kind of just hoping that you pull up and get the biggest one to bite, and then like you don't. All right, go to the next one with 50 fish on it until you catch a 4-pounder.
Yeah. A friend of mine back in the day in college, when I went to Murray, I said, like, do you have any advice? And he texted back, and I always remember this: adopt a sense of urgency. Like, don't sit on a spot, because I was a river rat, Potomac tidal stuff. You sit in spots, wait for the tide to get right. He's like, you don't know. You couple of casts, bang out. Couple of casts, bang out. Was my airplane like mile high advice, and it is, dude. It is so true.
Big time. I actually have an aunt. I don't know if you guys, surely you guys are familiar with Ashburn, Virginia.
A little.
I actually learned. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. That's where I really learned to learn the Potomac River. I stayed with her for like a whole summer. Drove to Occoquan. It was like 40 minutes, 35 minutes every morning. Just really spent a lot of time out there. I've got buddies that live like 5 minutes from Mattawoman now that I just crash at their house. But I love that. I love that river. I love the Potomac.
Did you I have so many friends in North Carolina, and they will text me and be like, dude, I get on the Potomac, I get the shakes, because they tell me to power pull down and sit here for 8 hours, and I feel like I can't do that. Like, did that completely derail your mindset?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy that people do that. But I'm more of like I'll try my hardest to figure out when to be there instead of just kind of like waiting for that tide. I mean, I don't even know. I can't even tell you how much time I've spent out there. I love that place so much. I've had a lot of really good finishes there in Toyota Series and some other tournaments, PFLs. But yeah, no, I'd rather just figure out when to be, because it is like I mean, dude, I've got some offshore spots on the Potomac, believe it or not, like 10, 15 foot. Yeah. And I feel like until I get seen there, I feel like I'll be able to do fairly well off of these spots for a long time.
I think it'll take longer because it's a cultural thing. The old river rats will not accept forward-facing sonar. They have to get beaten over the head like you're punching a baby in a stroller so many times until they're like, okay, I will use scope on the river. Like when Jacob Wheeler and all them went to the James and they were fishing brush piles like he went on a lake, I just know some of the locals, they were mad about that. Like, well, that's not how you do it. This is not the purity of the sport. And it's like, you're asking them to keep taking your money for another 5 years.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It is like it's kind of sucks to talk about. And I'm sure everybody's over talking about it, but dude, I'm running a business. I can't afford to lose.
Yeah.
Well, I've said it 100 times that, here, I mean, I'm fishing highlands, deep, clear lakes, Watauga, South Holston, Cherokee, Douglas, but these really deep, clear lakes, Norris, and, live scope even before, back when it was still Panoptics, was huge. People around here just adopted it and was like, this is awesome. We were Demiki rigging with 2D, and now we can see them on this. And so for me, when kind of the backlash started happening, I was like, how can people be upset about this?
We don't want to dive completely into the FFS
No,
tonight, guys, because it's well, we could talk for hours. Go ahead, Thomas.
If I may have a retort to that, or just to parallel, like blueback lakes were made because of forward-facing sonar. It opened up how to fish them more consistently, which ties into Hartwell. And maybe it wasn't necessarily how you did it, but just in general, there are lakes around here that blueback were introduced. And once you said that and people learned that you could go offshore and find them with the scope, the weight started to go up. It's so unique when you have these lakes where they're following like tuna, this pelagic species. And I do think some lakes, they've seen an uptick in their bags because of the introduction of scope.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think like there's like some places like low key sneak holes up in like the mountains, like New York and stuff. I was there like all summer this year. Some of those places have smelt in them, and it's not the same deal. Like these people have no idea that there's millions of 4 and 5 pound bass swimming in these tiny mountain lakes, and it's insane. Like I got to go up there with a buddy of mine, my travel partner actually, and we were living up there in Plattsburgh this summer. And I mean, these lakes are insane. The locals don't even know. They have no idea. It's so crazy.
How does that, and making this go full circle back to the Hartwell chain of lakes, what is your experience on Hartwell leading up to this event? And this time of year, late November, with the blueback migration and how they're trying to get into their wintering holes, were you going to make that a part of your strategy, chasing the schoolers, or was it finding areas that you could do well with or without them?
I was just looking for singles. I think like in the fall especially, there's obviously always early fish. Like those fish like sun, dude. It like I think in a way, I learned this like 3 or 4 years ago, like early fall, mid fall. It's almost like those fish are sight feeders.
They are.
Yep.
Even when they get up shallow. So I think the biggest thing that helped me is, for one, I was scoping or fishing a lot shallower than everybody else was, because with one day of practice, I was really fortunate that there still was, because this time of year they start to, like, they don't school up like that all year. Like as the winter starts to happen and all those like big schools that are floating out there, they kind of disappear. Like they go into the ditches, and with my experience, they kind of stop doing that like fluke pencil popper deal like around the fall time. So fortunately there was still enough out there to keep everybody distracted from what I had going on, and I kind of just took it and ran with it, really.
Was it a resident fish pattern? Were they just waiting for the blueback to kind of come over their head to ignite? I
mean, dude, I was just fishing. I mean, I could tell you what I was fishing. I don't have the exact rhyme or reason to it, but it was so on Hartwell, this time of year in the fall, I always look for the same thing. It's like if you're looking at the bank, there's like some spots just have clay, and then some spots just have like tiny clay rock transitions. And if you like spend enough time, obviously on Hartwell, you can find tiny little spots like that in the water. And I figured out that I was gonna fish that way like the last hour of practice. I had 2 hours left in the one day of practice we had. And I went to 3 of these little spots that I had found when I was in college. And on each of those spots, I caught a spotted bass almost 4 pounds, like a 390, a 380, and then 390. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I got to go run all these places real quick. So I went through, I remarked all these spots that I had remembered that I had fished in college and I caught big bags off of in the past. And, I ended up with like 15 spots and I rotated them the whole tournament, like just remembering off the top of my head.
So, the conditions were pretty interesting, during that tournament. And, knowing that you're fishing shallower, this was something that I was talking about to a couple of guys in your live well, and that's kind of a pattern that we fish up here, but it's a lot for bass that are keying on crawdads.
Right.
So were you seeing shad in your live well? Were any of them spitting up craws or
fish? Yeah, it was mostly crawfish. I mean,
that's what I thought.
I don't know if you guys believe in like the full moon deal with them.
Yes.
Yes,
Well, that's what I was
100%.
getting ready to say.
Yep.
We launched. So for anybody that don't know, we launched even on the first day without the fog delay. We launched at 7:30, which is pretty late. And most of the time, what I've experienced in the fall, and that's why I was asking you guys this a lot. Most of the time, and from what I'd heard, the lake's pretty clear. Fishing for smallmouth that feed on alewives up here, which is a herring too. Those herring go like, they're already 65 feet. They'll be 85 feet deep with smallmouth down there chasing. But the worst days I've had when it comes to that topwater bite is nights where the full moon has run, because they'll feed hard at night. And then if you don't get there at the literal butt crack of dawn, you've missed that bite.
Eating's done.
And then, especially with the water temps, because they were 63-ish most places. Those crawfish generally molt around that temperature late in the year, and those big ones will. So yeah, I absolutely believe in the full moon. And then that was a super moon. Shout out to Brad again. He loved it because I discovered that was actually a full super moon called the Beaver Moon. So that was pretty interesting, because I was wondering if that was really going to play, because I think you've got two sets of bass there. You've got the ones that are really keyed in on those herring. They're going to be out there, but they're not going to be feeding that much. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the ones that are up there cruising, picking off those crayfish. I'll let you elaborate on that thought.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. Like when I said sight feeders earlier, I kind of just meant like in the summertime, like shallow smallmouth. That's what I meant. Not like herring fish. I mean like shallow, like flat glass, no wind conditions are the best. And like that's kind of what I could compare it to is like just those shallow smallmouth, like Lake Ontario. Sometimes we'll get on the flats, St. Lawrence, stuff like that. Like I could see them. I think the biggest one I caught the first day, I literally saw him. So
wow.
You said these are spots that you had in another college tournament. Yeah, not giving away spots, but I'm trying to get into your mindset. Was it just you closed your eyes and went to a point and eventually it clicked? Like, what was the click moment that I want to try to seek this?
I was trying to make I made the herring deal. I wouldn't even say the herring deal. I just kind of have some history that I ran, just because we had a day. So I pre-practiced. I had time after one of our events, before the off limits, and I was able to get there. And I was like, man, I really want to catch them on a jig, like bad, but I was really disappointed to see that it hadn't got cold enough yet. And I tried it for a little bit in practice, but that's how I like to catch them out there in Hartwell, is like on a jig, like on a big jig. And it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't time for it yet. So I elaborated a little bit, but like I said, I figured that deal out the last few hours of practice, and I had like 3 other spots to check that I had already known about, all like within the same area, because like on that end of the lake that I was fishing, all those spots are pretty close together. And I think it's just like because it's the way that like the earth is made, like they're all relatively close to each other. Mm-hmm. And so I checked those other 3 spots. I just literally just dropped the trolling motor and looked at them. I didn't cast on them. Saw fish there, and then for my last like 30 or 45 minutes of practice, I was idling at like 8 miles an hour, just trying to mark as many other places as I could. And I think I found like 8 or 9 other spots that I put into the rotation, just graphing on side scan.
Why do you think that specific part of the lake is what worked?
I'll be honest with you. I think I have a personal synopsis. This is probably pretty crazy to you, but I think on most spotted bass lakes, all the biggest spotted bass are always going to be by the dam.
I agree with that.
It's kind of just like I don't know. So, but I wasn't super. I mean, I really wasn't that close. But like, if you're talking in relation to takeoff, I was like towards the dam. So, and in the past, my biggest fish on Hartwell have always been near the dam.
When you're graphing for a tournament, and this is something I think a lot of people could really get a good education on about limiting yourself of saying on a map metaphorically, I will only graph this area because I physically can't fish all of Lake Hartwell's points. Did you subconsciously tell yourself, like, I'm only going to graph within this area because there's no point in putting one point on every corner of the globe and try to hit them all?
Yeah. The way I typically fish anyways is like pretty off the wall. So thankfully these like how I won on Table Rock, I hadn't heard of a tournament ever being won on Table Rock. I'm like flattered. Like, I don't know. It's just, I guess it's a little bit of the East Texas in me. These spots were all on like, it's like hiding in the obvious places. I mean, you think 90% of the people that just go out and fun fish like Hartwell, I bet you like, if you take of that 90% of the average fisherman that goes and fishes like Hartwell, I bet you over half of them just go fish points or shoals.
Yeah.
And really what I was looking for was just flatter contours, and any like subtle change in flatter contours was pretty much hot. Like, and I always like that flat stuff, especially like during a transition period.
Mm-hmm.
There's fish coming and going all the time.
Now, when you're looking for those flatter areas, are you looking for some sort of ditch or some sort of deeper water that's running up, at least up against it? Yeah.
I'm more so looking at the bottom. So like on those flatter areas on a lake like Hartwell, it's like mostly clay, hard bottom rock.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like, there could be anything down there. The biggest one I caught in the tournament was on I caught the second day. I caught a spot. It was like just under 5 pounds. It was on a vein on one of these flatter areas. It was actually crazy because Tucker Smith was like, he was right there, and I was like, dang, this dude, like, surely find this little vein. Like, it's a tiny little crack on this flatter area, like 7 foot deep. And he was like, I ended up just driving past him with like 30 minutes left in the final day. And I saw that he was like just barely off to the side of it. And I was like, man, I don't think he's really fishing it. So I let him do his thing. And then I pulled up right behind him, and it was just a vein that it was literally the last spot that I marked in practice. Just a tiny rock vein on a flatter, just like a flatter contour. And there was like a 5 pound spot on it. So,
wow.
This time of year, why do you think the fish prefer the flatter contours versus the sharper?
I wouldn't say that they prefer it. I think that there's just more big resident fish on that stuff, like singles. Like, I think the vast majority obviously prefer like typical 8 following patterns, like going into the ditches, making their way back to the, stopping on points. But I don't typically follow like the groups unless it's like summertime or
it's an interesting thought process. You're thinking about, so the fish you're targeting are probably the 4 or 5 pounders. These fish are not wanting to school. They want to be alone, like a 10-point buck. And so that fish is purposely saying, I would rather feed here.
Yeah, no, I don't think they leave.
Interesting.
I don't think they leave. I think they, I mean, you got to imagine these, like, when I say flatter areas, I mean this, I'm probably talking like 200-300 yards of just not steep contours on like.
Interesting.
So like pretty off the wall, I guess you could say, like not something everyone would go check, but you got to imagine these places are like 10 to 4 foot deep. They've got stumps, like a lot of them had stumps. Like I caught a bunch off of stumps. So like obviously spawn on the stumps. They winter on the stump. I just don't think they leave, really.
Now, question for all of you here, because this is my brain's going a mile a minute. Are they doing that because it's easier for them to pin prey on that less sloping bank, or is it because of the fishing pressure? They're now tending to want to live in these boring places because they're not getting pounded 24/7.
It's like a mix between fish being pelagic and what you're saying, like pressure.
First one.
Like it's like the happy medium. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you the exact answer. Shoot, half the things I say are pretty stupid, I think, but I think
Makes a lot of sense, man.
it'll work out.
Yeah,
But-
you're making a lot
and
of
you
sense
know,
to me.
I think that goes back, to what I was saying earlier. I think, one of the things, that when you hear people talk about fishing, you hear them talk about the bass move during the fall, the bass move up into the creeks, the bass move out of the creeks.
Yep.
But I think what we're learning, especially with forward-facing sonar, is that the bass that are moving up and down the creeks kind of live in that creek, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
And then you have bass that live on a point, and they live there for pretty much their entire lives. You have a bass that lives near a flat, and they live there. I think what we're finding is there's different groups of bass that do different things year round. I think that's what you were trying to say about those bass on the flat. They live on that flat year round.
For sure.
But,
the Tennessee River.
Yeah.
I think those fish live on those like shallow stumps and ledges. They don't leave. Why would they leave?
Yeah.
Like the fish that have been spawning, like you said, the fish that have been spawning on the bank forever, that's what they do. They go spawn on the bank and they leave. Fish that have been spawning on the stumps, they've been doing that forever, I think.
Yeah.
I think like you were saying there too, is, about the stumps and everything like that. I mean, it's perfect protection. On top of that, they're watching bait come by, eating bait. Yep. So I mean, it's just a great place to hide, just like anybody else hiding to kill a predator. I mean, that's what it is. You were talking about a lot of the flats that you had found during the tournament. How did you break down the locations that you found, or were you just like run and gun the whole time, or did you say, okay, I want to start here in the morning, and as the day progresses, I'm going to go check each one of them? Or did you just like...
Yeah, there was like, I noticed there was like three like main, like I had to be there pretty much breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it seemed like. A lot of my hot spots were like, they would feed first thing, they would feed sometime in the middle of the day, and they would feed right before check-in. But I had, I knew, I'd say the biggest area that I was fishing was probably 2 football fields, maybe. But I knew what the entire area looked like. Like I'm really weird with my head like that. Like I could see something on my side imaging and never forget what it looks like. I could tell you if there's a stump over here. It like when I was idling on like 10 miles an hour the last few minutes of practice. Like I was just trying to get an understanding of these whole areas so I could pull up and just be like, okay, I'm gonna check this, and then I'm gonna roll. Like just only percentage stuff.
My friends, I'm the same way. So we are fishing savants, because I'm telling you, I can take somebody to a lake. I took a buddy of mine to a lake that I'd fished forever and hadn't been there forever, and they'd changed it. They'd raised the dam water level a little bit, and so I was expecting it to be a little bit different. And then I was like, well, all right, let's go over here. I always seem to get about here. Bam! I was like, okay, 2 there. I was like, there used to be this drop off right here with some rocks. Bam! And my buddies make fun of me. They're like, dude, you don't forget a single fish you've ever caught in anywhere and what it was on. So you sound like you're kind of the same way.
I mean, after a while, we're all fishing patterns, to be honest. I mean, even, I ain't gonna lie, guys, I don't get out as much as I want to, and because I run the website. But I mean, there's lakes and rivers that we've all gone to in the past to be like, we caught a fish here. We know that there's going to be a fish here. Don't know the size, but we definitely know that the fish do live in this general area.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we're all play a little bit of history throughout tournament fishing. And then, based on the time of the year, we break down a different pattern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was definitely forced to practice that way because of the format, the one day of practice. thought that was another reason I thought it was really cool, because I was like, man, I'm sure like there are so many good local anglers like on the Elite Series or the local level, whatever. Like I used to talk to Cobb quite a bit. He
Yeah.
actually was with the he was like had a role in our college fishing team while I was there, and he was who like showed me around the school and stuff. So we used to talk quite a bit, and I was like, man, these guys like have so many spots like that. But I was like, at the end of the day, there's probably not many people going and graphing like that, like a madman. Like, it was really cool. It gave you a competitive edge, like in your own mind.
So how'd you get involved with the tournament? Because it was an invitational tournament. Shout out to Ionic. They took some of the best elites, pros from the MLF Cup, from the MLF Invitational, from the Toyotas, from the Opens, from the MPFLs. And what was really cool about it is they pulled 4 or 5 of the best female anglers in the world, and then they gave 5 golden tickets away to average Joes like me, to get to go out there and fish against you guys, some of the best sticks in the world. So how'd you manage to get the invite?
It was I guess it was a little bit of teamwork, but I mean I wouldn't say that I didn't yeah, I don't think you're going this direction with it, but I wouldn't say that I didn't earn it. I think so. Like last year, I had like a good season on the Toyota Series. This year, when I read the rules or how they were going to invite people, it was like the top from every division, and I was like, well, shoot, I won the. This is kind of like a participation award, but I won the wild card division. I AOI'd the wild card division this year in Toyota. So, I was like, well, shoot, for what it's worth, if you're going to take the top from every division, then I may as well reach out. When I heard about it, I actually had a buddy of mine reach out for me because he got an invite. Brody Campbell is his name. That's like a partner. Then he reached out to him. He was like, hey, Chad, he pretty much vouched for me, I guess. And he pretty much just got me in. And I got it.
I bet you they're not happy about that now, daggone it.
When we were walking away from the tournament, and one of the Iconic guys that Brody had been in contact with to get me into the tournament, he was like, hey, next time you have a recommendation, make sure he doesn't win.
Dang. That's funny.
Yeah.
So what was it like though, getting in there fishing against all these guys? Like, Brian Thrift was there.
Yeah, it was cool. I think I always seem to do the best in those tournaments, like early season Toyota Series events, like in like mid-January, beginning of February. They always seem to draw a lot of Elite Series and MPFL guys as well, just because nobody has anything going on. Like I remember a couple of the tournaments last year at the beginning of the year, like Harris Chain. These Florida events are drawing like 200 plus boats. And like I said, a ton of them are Elite Series guys just looking for something to get their feet wet before they start their official seasons. And I always seem to do well in those tournaments. So, like I said earlier, I'm pretty out of which is like not a good way to be like as a businessman in the fishing industry, but I'm pretty out of the riffraff. Like I really keep to myself. I have a really tiny circle. I love to have a good time and everything, but I just don't, I let everybody kind of do their own thing. And especially with, this is like probably not great to say, but dude, there's just complaining. Like I could never be a person to get on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and just like tell someone that they're doing something like wrong with their, like, no, I don't know. But I've got it. It comes with one of probably my closest thing I have to a mentor in the sport, if you could even call him that, is Keith O'Shea. He's been a good friend of mine.
Yeah, Keith's cool.
He's kind of that way too. So I kind of stem from that a little bit, and I look up to him a lot, and we talk quite a bit. So just having a small circle, and I know I really respect his hustle and his grind, and I know he didn't get it super easy as well, coming up through the ranks and stuff. So I kind of base my game off of Keith a lot. And it's just, I don't know, just keep plugging away.
Was there a
he's-
moment during the tournament that you thought you had a thing going on?
A thing like I was gonna win it.
Oh
Yeah.
shit, my bank account's gonna get thick.
Dude, I didn't think I had enough. Really, I thought I was gonna
Really?
need 19. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed because the first day, this is like all bullshit people say, but the first day I jumped off, like I seriously should have had well over 20, like probably 21, like giants, and I was really disappointed. I was so mad. I just thought I had blown the whole thing. I was so upset. And then like my first cast, day 2, I broke off a really big one again because I had to throw 6. Like I couldn't get him to eat anything, and I had to literally throw 6 and retie after I caught every fish.
Golly.
So
Wow.
that was like painful.
And when you say 20, is that 20 pure spot bag, or is that with some green
All
ones
spot.
mixed in?
All spots. I'm only in one green one.
Damn.
Wow.
That first day could have been super, super, super special. Like I could have thrown up. I was so upset.
Damn, dude. I would too. Good God. That's some
Yeah,
big spots.
Day 2, I broke that one off first thing. It was like close to 4. I don't know that it was probably 4, around 4 pounds. And then literally like I retied my 6-pound leader and saw another one drop to him, and it was like a 490 spot. I was like, all right.
Now, don't give anything away you don't want to. Sorry, Thomas, but what were your bait, 2-3 baits, or techniques that you were using?
Just a light Nico, like a ounce Nico is like a 6 cents. Actually has a worm called it's a bambusa. It's like a 5.25 inch. Just a worm on a Nico, and then they have a crew as well. It's like a hollow body, and I'm sure you've seen like the hype with the emo kamushis and the Japanese style baits. Now, I was actually threading my own skirt through
Smart.
the body of the crew, and the only reason I was doing that is because when like another little personal thing that I have with myself is if fish are impossible to get to bite. Like I think your best shot at getting them to eat something is something that like works itself.
Mm-hmm. That's secondary action. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I was literally putting this like those 2. That was just my main 2 rotation baits there. It would just sit in front of them like and barely move it. Like the crew when I was threading like every night I probably rigged up 15 of them, but I had to put my own jig skirts through them, and they only ate. I think they only ate it because it was like working itself. I don't think they can stand that stuff. Like that stuff's about to take off.
I know that's a big deal with with spots, and it's a big deal with smallmouth too. The rubber.
Yeah, it's a secondary motion when it comes to the water.
With the jigs.
Yeah, and even like that's why the hairy dice. You look at that thing; it's like this looks like some kind of hentai thing from Japan. But when you actually look at it in the water, you get it. Where if a fish breathes on it, it just will it'll flutter. And something I experimented with up here is fall rate, because there are some places when you're catching smallmouth in 20 feet of water, you can tell if a quarter is on heads or tails, and it's the splash. When you were pitching these fish with your Nika rig, did you see on your scope, were they responding a certain way to like if the thing fell quickly versus almost just gently fluttering?
100%. I couldn't. This is some crazy info here. I couldn't get them to eat. I threw an 1/8 and a 16th in nail weight and couldn't get them to eat. I threw a 32nd, and that's what I caught them all on.
A slow fall.
Yeah,
and it's because it's like it's working. It was working itself on the way down. Like, it wasn't just falling with the weight.
This is where I think they're actually way more intelligent than we give them credit for. Because the big tournament I went up near me, I had to put the thing damn near weightless in 20 feet of water, because if it went any faster, they would bolt immediately. But if it just had that subtle fall, they would perk up at it. And it's fascinating. It's like, is this a learned thing that they have? They're just so used to a dude dropping a drop shot on their head 58 times that they will bolt if it's too fast. I think it has to be.
Listen, I'm so old. Okay, I'm old. So I was around when the Cinco came out, right? Back
in my
then,
day.
there wasn't no such thing as fluorocarbon. So, we was fishing it on, spinning reels with a 3/0 hook, weightless. And, we'd literally dead stick it, man. Throw it out there on mono. So you can imagine, and you just sit there and, during the early spring before, they move off those last channel swings might be, 14, 20 feet where I'm from, to the spawning flat, they would, you just take that thing and throw it out there, man. And I mean, it was like fishing with a worm. You just sit there and watch the line fall. And then once you started seeing it swim off, you knew he'd sit there and twitch long enough in front of their face to where they just couldn't stand it no more.
Yeah. They can't stand those subtle movements.
Yeah.
I think it's something in their brain. Like, I think there's a science behind it. I was actually talking to a guy, like a Japanese guy yesterday at a tackle store, and he was kind of like talking about how there's some like chemical in their brain that, like, whenever there's like super subtle movements like that, there's they have to have it.
Yeah.
So, and it makes sense. I mean, the dice and the kamushi and all those baits will be good for a long time until something else comes out. So,
yep.
Were you having to kind of feed these fish a little bit, or were there more of a reaction bite when
I was like forcing them to eat? I think some of those fish, I was shaking it in front of their face for 50 seconds, 60 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a cool deal.
What an event, guys. Holy cow. We talked off camera before, man. We hope this event comes back in 2025, and maybe we'll all learn about it and be able to visit. But it was pretty freaking cool. $50,000 helps out a little bit around Christmas time and pays for a couple entries for 2025, doesn't it, Chad?
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Put a couple gallons in the boat.
Yeah, they my rule of thumb has always been if after my first year full time, I said if I ever have to come out of my own pocket for this stuff, then I'm gonna have to put it, like, step aside. So, like I said, thankfully I'm really fortunate to have some awesome people behind me, and that 50 G's is definitely gonna help with whatever I do with it.
Well, my question with that 50 G's is, what's the one thing you're going to treat yourself to? I mean, I would have treated myself and my friends to a fun night at Hooters, but, we might end up in jail.
Yeah. But we did that. Yeah, we did something like that. Hooters would probably be the PG version of what we ended up doing. We had a couple buddies. We went, had a good time.
So guys, he didn't do no Brandon Polinick and went and had ice cream after he made the cut. All right, we went a little bit of a step forward. All right.
Yeah. Good times. Yeah, I got some great people that that Brody Campbell. Like I said, we've got everything we need. We got trucks. I have a truck bed camper, and that's like my house. And I got a boat. That's all I need, man. I think we're gonna do something. Him and I were talking about building a house on Chickamauga here soon, like a barn and van.
Ooh.
We're gonna do. I've got a couple, big wins under the belt now, and I've been able to put away like all of it. So I think that's what we're gonna do, and maybe get back guiding a little bit.
You be coming up here in my neck of the woods, man.
That's right. I love Chick, man. I only fished it one time this year for the Toyota, but it was a good event.
It's a good lake. It's very pressured lake. Very pressured now, but incredible lake. Still pumping them out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that was my next question. Well, I had two, but we'll go with that one first. I hear half the people saying, like, well, Chick is dead now. It's over. They killed all the grass. It's not what it used to be. But then you have other people like, it's still pretty good. Like, where are you at it with right now in its life cycle? Where do you think Chick is at?
Chickamauga is fire. Like, they're in there. There's so many other places for them to live other than the grass there. It's like that college kid. He won the Toyota when I was there. I can't remember his name. That dude's on fire. Like, he needs to be stopped.
Yeah, he's taking everybody's money. They got something figured out. Ain't it him and like his brother or something like that, cousin? Somebody else is fishing with him.
Yeah, he won the Toyota I fished there, and then my travel partner Brody he finished second, and then I was like, I think I was fourth, and that's when Brody and I ended up meeting. And we kind of, connected. We like the same areas. We want to go to Chattanooga. There is what we want to do.
Yeah.
But Chickamauga is definitely hot. It's still on fire, I think. I think
Chad,
it'll be for a long time.
my last question is: a man that grew up in East Texas, got to fish the TVA, the Carolina Lakes. You got to dabble with the Potomac. What is the hole in your game? What is the style of fishing? Is it the Minnesota smallmouth? Is it fishing the grass in Florida that you're like, this is something I need to work on?
That's crazy you brought that up. I was just talking. My old college partner and I talk about this all the time. I think I've won in every region of the United States now. I lived in New York for like 6 months when I was just starting out full time. I've spent a lot of time on the TVA. I spent a lot of time in Florida. I think if there was anything,
How about least favorite?
oh man, January on Okeechobee probably.
No, okay, yeah.
Like I would say the spawn in Florida, but like I've been in contention to win like 9 Toyotas. I was talking to one of the MLF guys about this the other day, and I like always blow the final day, but the last one of them was on the Harris chain in like February, and that was one of those like stacked fields that I was just talking about. Like 200 plus Elite Series guys, MLF guys, all that stuff. But I'd say if I've gotten my butt whooped anywhere more than once, it'd probably be Okeechobee in January for sure.
It's because that kind of place fishes like the Potomac too. The Potomac has more variables where it's the stupid simplicity that can also, you can outthink the room so easy on Florida lakes in the Potomac, which sometimes on the Potomac at least you can be rewarded for that. But in Florida, 90% of the time you're not rewarded for trying to be, super autistic with it. And I'm going to hit all this stuff. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like it seems like I get my butt whooped by older guys just dragging a giant worm and staying in one spot, and that's really frustrating. But hats off to them because I can do it.
I've got one more question. We're gonna go geek for the final question tonight. But you brought up a good point there about losing it on the final day and the mindset of that. And we talk a lot about that here on Basscast Radio. What has kind of helped you, maybe turn your career around, being able to capitalize on that final day? Because, we have it here. I mean, I've seen it here. I've been doing this thing for 15 years. And, you see an angler go out first day, smack them 25 pounds. The next day come back with 4. And I'm like, what the hell happened? I mean, they didn't go that far.
Yeah. I actually think I did that this year, too. That's funny you said that. But, man, I like just getting to obviously whatever tournament you're fishing, getting to the final day is a pretty decent pat on the back. So like I think taking like with fishing, especially for a living and at any level, you have to learn to really appreciate the small wins. So like I appreciate making it to the final day, just having another shot at fish, and like anything could happen. So that for sure. And then once I finally did close one out, I know I brought this up a bunch, but when I won at Table Rock last year, that was like super big for my mind block there, because dude, it's like so frustrating and it's hard to win, but when you've been so close so many times, it's like golly, and nobody, like, it's just like you were saying earlier, Brian, like you have no idea who I am. And I guess it's because I haven't won enough, but like I don't know. It's just appreciating the small things, taking the small wins, and appreciating another day on the water. Like I said, anything could happen. I didn't think I was going to win 2 weeks ago with whatever 16 pounds. I thought I was going to need 20 or 19, and I mean, obviously everybody struggled and it worked out. So definitely, appreciating making it to the final day and the camaraderie and.
Now, I love the humbleness, but I got to ask, because you've won so many times. Did you ever have one where you're like, babe, listen, we're going to the steakhouse tonight. I got this one. Did you ever have a tournament you felt super confident?
No, man.
No dirty 30 on the last day or something like that?
No. And then, like, I stay away from that too, because then I wouldn't know which chick to call.
Hey, he did say earlier he had a bunch from Tennessee in his boat. People think boats don't pull broads, man. Yeah. Come on, bass boats pull the dames, man.
Everywhere we go, man. Love being on the road.
Shit.
Oh crap!
I just look, man. Chicken in the can in the camper every night. That's what I do. So I might go knock on Brody's camper door over there. We usually stay next to each other. Go convince him to, go grab a beer or whatever. But nah, it's low key dudes.
That is awesome. Tom, Geeky, any question? Finish this wrap his bad boy up.
Man, let's 2025 season. What's the one event you're really eyeballing? You're looking forward to?
Oh man, there's a bunch of them. I'd say, dude, there's so many. I'm fishing like 30. I think my schedule says 32 for next year, 33. But I'd shoot Hartwell in March. First day, we're not gonna have, and I think it'll fish pretty similar. Like I think I'll be able to kind of duplicate kind of what I had going on in a different way. And then we're gonna have with the invitationals next year, live scope the first day, and then none the second day, and then I'm really excited for that. As a whole, I'm excited to see how that shakes things up. I think you're gonna have to practice a lot differently. I think you're really gonna see people struggle, and I'm gonna be very thankful that I learned to fish the way I did learn to fish, because I'm still not opposed to going up and pulling the big stick out and flipping a big weight and in the dirt. So I that's how I learned to fish, and even like offshore, dude. Using my side imaging, dragging shallow hard spots, deep spots, piles. Like I love it, dude. I don't need scope. So I'm excited. I'd say if there's one thing I'm excited about is to have a day without a live scope.
Do they have you take it off your, like, how does that work?
I think they're doing like covers. There's like covers.
Okay. Yeah, there's a cover, because there was a tournament held down here, and he told me that he had all the covers already purchased. And they actually disconnect your system, and it's pretty much like getting a boot on your car. And they put this cover on it, and they lock it until after the tournament's over, and then they'll lock it and let you have it back. But it's a cover that they put on there. So
interesting.
Yeah, seems like a bit of a headache to me, but
Chad, we're gonna have you back on after that tournament, because that would be freaking really cool to break that down. And guys, I ain't gonna lie, with what's happening in the world tournament bass fishing right now, we thought it was bad just keeping up with where the hell we had to be. But now, since we talk about this in the kayak series, and we brought that up a couple weeks ago, me and Thomas, all the different rules everybody's going to have with forward-facing sonar, this many screens, that size screen. You've seen the size screen change. Thomas brought that up earlier. We saw that. He's going to be talking about that on Thanksgiving, and I will be watching, because I mean, what the hell? I mean, it's like it's overwhelming. I mean, we just want to freaking go fish. I mean, you guys need to get your shit together. I mean, really and truthfully, you guys really need to sit down. I know you hate each other, but you really need to sit down, Major League Fishing, Bassmaster, NPFL, and say, hey, this is what we're going to have. This is what we're all going to live with, and let's just compete. I mean, will we ever see it? I doubt it. It's like politics. It is politics and bass fishing.
Yeah.
I should have drank before I came on.
Unfortunately, but it's all good. Just go ball.
Chad, where can they follow the dream this year with you, brother, in 2025, man?
Just Chad Mazarek on all social medias, and then we've got some things coming with YouTube and stuff. I think we're gonna do we're gonna try and bring me and Brody are gonna try and bring the fun into fishing. So like I touched on earlier, we're gonna try and bring the outside, the actual on the water life into it a little bit, and try to shake things up with that. And I'm excited for that. So working on getting all that lined up with the camera guys and stuff. But until then, just Chad Mazarek on everything.
Guys, what a show. Dude, Chad, thank you for dropping. I ain't gonna lie, probably one of our best shows. I mean, you broke down, the lake amazing. I mean, it's like, guys, if you didn't get some tips, some tricks, and learn a little bit tonight, you just like fell asleep. And that ain't our fault because it's a damn good show.
Can't wait to see everybody on my stuff next year. It'll be fun.
All right, guys. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being a part of it. Like I said, this goes up on Monday. Turkey Day will already be over. We'll already be looking for Black Friday deals. Cyber Monday. Yeah, that's what it'll be. Yeah, I forget about Cyber Monday. Cyber Monday. You guys all know here at the basscast.com and Basscast Radio, buy local. That's this Saturday. That already passed too. But I push that very, very hard. Hit your local tackle store, please. Because we all are looking for that special bait. You know, we all go to these different places to fish. I guess the MPF, Major League Fishing. Sorry, Major League Fishing is coming next year to Smith Mountain Lake. We all know that. We've all heard that. But I mean, take care of your local tackle stores because when these big groups, events, and that's the reason why they get brought to these counties and towns, etc. When they show up, they're going to be hitting these local tackle stores and hopefully promoting them as well. And like I said, let's keep them in business. But if you can't find it, it's a local tackle store. Discount Tackles affiliate with the basscast.com. I'll put the link in that below. Get a gift card. We make about, we make a few cents off each purchase. I know Bass Geek, you're a Discount Tackle. We're at Tackle. It's all, it's like, let's just name them all the same thing. All right. So, but like I said, buy local this year and support your local tackle store, and pick up some gift cards for your kids. Stop. If your grandmother don't know what to buy your kids, stocking stuffers. I mean, hell, I'll be honest. I'm a gift card giver. I ain't gonna lie. I hate shopping. I hate it with a passion. I buy pretty good for Danielle, but in the past, it was just a gift card. I mean, either that or cash, because I don't know what all you guys want, what you want to buy, what you need.
I would like a new truck if you'd like to send that to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I seen a meme the other day that says, I wear size 21 with a 250.
That's pretty awesome. That is pretty freaking awesome. But guys, head on over, follow Geek. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Let's get him to 100,000 subs in 2024. We really need to push hard, but I think we can do it. And like I said, Thomas is dropping lives each and every week. Monday Night Live. It's going to be like a week back now, but that was a great freaking show. I mean, I watched it, and it was really a good Monday Night Live. A lot of people sending questions. I ain't gonna lie, guys. You guys all hate these buzzer topics. I guess these push button topics. But you guys will blow up the phone on a push button topic. I hate to, I don't, what do you want to call that thing? Go ahead, Thomas.
No, it sucks, but yeah. So guys, I do call-in shows every Monday night, and some people will they want to talk about the hot local topics, and of course, if I put out there that Randy Blockett called all younger anglers retarded flat brimmers, apparently that'll light up the lines. So I'll give the people what they want. Sadly, even though I hate talking about it.
I mean, guys, we had Slick Johnson on. That's still our #1 rated show of all time. But I hear 5,000 comments about how you're not a fan, but you got to keep watching. I mean, you got to hear what he's saying. You got to know what's going on. So, I mean, guys, thank you for being a part of Basscast Radio. We're going to wrap this bad boy up. Make sure, like I said, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, and we will see you all again next week right here on Basscast Radio.